Welcome, welcome. Welcome, everybody. Go ahead and get that space retweeted. Welcome. Just hang out for a little bit. Let everybody gather. We'll get started here soon. Welcome to Food 9 o'clock SoapBox. Bloomz in season. Gonna have a good show today. Talking about apartment permaculture today. Kind of gonna finish off the permaculture talk. Excited. Give you a few more seconds here.
I will not follow your man-made law. Do not cause no trouble with your herb in me pipe. Yes, me fire up and yes, me feel alright. Place up the green plant, try to see the spots I and I choose. Never disrespect, I will never abuse. This laws of the book, I follow the rules. In my herbal garden, it's a sweet.
Love herbal gardens around here. All right, everybody. You get started here. welcome. Bloomz in season. Food 9 o'clock SoapBox here on the Noun Square. Excited for the show today. Make sure we get that space retweeted, everybody. We're going to have a giveaway for start yourself a new garden next year. So that's exciting. So you're going to want to get that space retweeted. And yeah, welcome. How's it going, everybody?
Glad to be here on this beautiful Tuesday.
Definitely. Glad to be here.
Is it a Taco Tuesday, Chef?
Oh, it's always a Taco Tuesday.
It's a Taco Tuesday for somebody, that's for sure.
It's Nacho Tuesday for me. Black beans and some spicy goodness.
Oh, yeah. That sounds really yummy. I just had a delicious Philly cheesesteak. So getting the show rolling with a punch.
Where was this cheesesteak acquired from?
It was actually acquired from this little local spot that is run by an Asian couple. So that's cool. They actually make really good cheesesteaks.
I had a cheesesteak the other evening after hours of helping a friend do flea marketing stuff at this very eccentric bar and social club here in town, and I couldn't make it through the night. The sky opened up, it started pouring down rain, but I wouldn't have made it without that cheesesteak.
Yeah, cheesesteaks are always a lifesaver. Definitely can turn your day around. All right. Well, today we're going to be talking about apartment permaculture. So, just kind of a small scale version that focuses on people in cities with limited space, people that own apartments and have settled in, and, just kind of focusing on the different kinds of methods and twists that they've put on applying these principles to their space, even when living in an apartment in a small.
It's really good timing too, because we're talking about doing things with the college students in Florida. And one of the things I think that Andrew was talking about was potentially like doing some seed packages and stuff like that. And so, learning how to garden in an apartment setting is definitely something that I think is a skill that like college students should learn, like around that age.
Absolutely. There's so much that can be done in even in an indoor space, in a small little outdoor space, that, maybe on a balcony or something, just all kinds of different methods that you can apply when growing in an apartment setting or a small house, something with a small yard that's, under 100 square feet, things like that. There's all kinds of different elements that it includes like growing your own mushrooms, building your own living soil, bokashi bins, turning your food scraps into compost, having worm bins, maybe tinkering with a aquaponics setup or a hydroponic setup, really tapping into solar and harvesting rainwater and things like that, to kind of just maximize what you can get from the environment still with living in an apartment setting. So a lot of cool stuff.
Yeah, I think go ahead, bud.
I was just going to say one of the key points is for people just to have the knowledge of the health benefits of those things that you can grow, all the herbs, thyme, rosemary, chives. So like just the nutritional value is just underrated, and something that part of the main pillars and the most paramount thing to onboarding the masses is just learning how good whole foods and herbs are, and how little things like mint and oregano like these come, and pack a big punch of nutrition and do a great deal for your immune system and everything. So
yeah, I think we, as American styled eating goes, a lot of us are lacking a lot of those big nutritional boosts or main nutritional sources. But what I was going to kind of speak to is like the addition of being in a different ecosystem, being in a city ecosystem. Your resources are just different, right? Like you may have a lot more accessible food scraps, and you might be able to do some kind of additional composting system because of your additional access to resources in that way. That idea about thinking in permaculture terms applies to everything, and it doesn't matter if you have one of these perceived limitations. You can turn that limitation itself into some kind of resource.
No, absolutely. That kind of leads me into one of the things I wanted to talk about, which is how when you're doing an apartment permaculture setup, you want to do something they call a macro permaculture apartment analysis. And it's just kind of, an analysis of different factors to consider, the larger influences affecting your indoor garden, your balcony, your small yard, things such as temperature, wind, the basis, humidity, sun, where that lands, water, puddling, all kinds of different things like that. So, taking that into account, is it's important, looking around and seeing, the different waterlogged parts of the yard, the small yard you might be working with, and, planting things accordingly. Just kind of taking in your surroundings and taking in that initial analysis to, base your design off of. It's very similar to the regular principles of permaculture.
I was actually just reading one of my permaculture books, and that was what one of their statements was, is that, a lot of people expect us to host a permaculture class and that it'll all be about implementation and design and stuff like that. But really, the majority of this time is actually spent on framing what your resources and your access actually looks like, because that's what the reality of your circumstances, and that's where you actually build out from. So yeah, having a good basis on what your resource system looks like, especially in an apartment scale, I could imagine be very, very important as the start to your home scale permaculture design at an apartment.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially, when you're trying to, say, design your outdoor balcony garden for the season, and you're up on the 20th floor in the city, and you've got to worry about the wind whipping through constantly. So different things you can do is, put up trellis on the, wood trellis on the back of your raised beds that you might build, and then border your balcony edges with that trellis, and grow vine plants up those trellis to kind of combat that wind, and take that airflow down to a desirable flow to really benefit from that wind, and not fight it all the time and have it knocking plants over and breaking things and, killing plants and withering things away,
Yeah, things can get sunburned if they don't have the appropriate amount of coverage. There's definitely a lot to speak to for that. I think it's fun. I always think it's fun when people see something that's kind of a problem, but then find a way to ingeniously turn it into either a resource or kind of the solution to a different problem. I think that's the best.
Yeah, no, for real. Just taking something like that and making it beneficial. Channeling it in a way that makes everything around it benefit, grow well, and not get beat up from something like the wind.
So it'd be probably be cool to bring some people from the audience up here if they have any questions about how they might be able to apply permaculture at a home scale or apartment scale for themselves. Maybe a particular problem that they have that we could maybe do some problem solving around.
Absolutely. Everybody's always welcome to come up and speak. Anybody have any questions or stories they'd like to tell? Come on up.
Well, I have a story. So, FOODNOUNS kind of is a growth out of another project, Chefo, that has kind of transitioned now into basically I'm Chefo and I've got these NFTs and I'm just focused on FOODNOUNS. But back in the olden days of NFTs, art is my weapon. And we were hanging out doing 8 or sometimes 10 hours of podcasting just for that particular project, each week. And we were really going deep on issues, some similar issues that we talk about here. But one day out of nowhere, and maybe Art is my weapon has a better recollection of how it all went down, but the conversation was around like growing things in a small environment, and we had a member of the group who was really into like 3D printing at the time, and was very motivated, and would like throw an idea out there and they would kind of like draw a sketch. But one of the things that just came up was a green bean marionette, where it would essentially be like kind of like a it would look almost like a cross or a plus sign at the top with strings or some type of cords coming down, and it could maybe even hold like the pot at the bottom, and the green beans would like come up and it could hang from a hook, like because a lot of times people have like really nice corners of rooms that have a lot of great light, but like you maybe don't know what to do with it. But yes, a green bean marionette came out of those conversations, so I'm sure some cool little ideas will come out of these. But it's those little types of innovations that ultimately can lead to people coming up with a brand new product and a new way of gardening.
I know, I love that. That's what gets me really excited about like this specific smaller part of permaculture. And I say smaller part, but it's its own world within the permaculture niche. Just having great ideas like that, and utilizing your space to grow a food plant instead of just your average house plant to add a bit of beauty to your house. Not to say that both aren't great, but to make sure that you have something in there that's giving out, and you're able to reap the benefits from. It's important, especially when you're living in a smaller space like an apartment, and you might own something like that. You might own a condo on the 20th floor, and you're settling in for the next 10 years, and you have to figure out a way to be have that food sovereignty and that food security.
Well, and again, like I think a lot of times too, with supplemental gardens, they can act as inspiration for freshness and flavor, and adding, like Ryan was saying, flavor and health and elements like that. And I think here, at least in the United States, we're going into winter, but perhaps in the summertime it would be more like it would make more sense to talk about it. But like pizza gardens, I think, are like a really cool concept as far as how to inspire people to garden. Like if you grow a tomato, if you grow basil, maybe you grow a couple other bits of veg that can go on the pizza garden or on your pizza. I just think that pizza, I think statistically, is like the most ubiquitous food in the world, and so using it as like a thought delivery vessel to inspire gardening, I think is a cool concept that I haven't had time to play around with. But some types of pizza garden.
That's a really fun concept,
Yeah.
Maybe even have like a pizza party based around, gift bags, giving away garden, packs, seed starters packs, to just kind of inspire and, maybe have people that have leftover pots and overflow, bring them to an event like that. And so others can take home that, might not have the funds to go out and buy pots and soil and things like that to get started doing this. And they might not go out and do that and use that as an excuse to not do something like this. So that's definitely a really cool concept.
Yeah, I love the pizza garden. I mean, and we could use this to reach out to broaden to the music base. Reach out to System of a Down. They have that whole song. It's like pepperoni and green peppers, mushrooms, olive chives. Pepperoni and green peppers, mushrooms, olive chives. Meat therapy. So you could have a whole garden, and then we can have a System of a Down get Nounish with us in the pizza garden at a concert. But the green bean just specifically is very inspirational because it's got these beautiful white flowers that blossom, but also it's nicknastic in its movements, so it responds to the sun, and like it just like has a personality of a plant, and it, like, you know, you feel connected with the green bean. And like I lived in a zone in San Diego where you could grow anything year round. And then I moved to a zone that is very hardy and high desert, even though it's in a forest. But certain things just do not grow here without extreme measures and a greenhouse and such. But it was awesome to learn what does grow and how you can manipulate environments and frame things using your resources. And but the green bean is definitely something that if you're lonely, it's just like, it feels like it's a real person, you know, like a being, you know, this is like, hey, I'm just your green bean, just waiting for my marionette strings. And yeah, but anyway, just thought I would share that thing about System of a Down and the pizza garden mostly.
I think you're onto something with that that little tune you had going there. A little green bean song might have to get you to make a Bloomz and Season opener.
And I'm all about the jingles. Jingles are big.
Oh yeah, you got to have them.
I need that Little Noun soundboard because like it's the only soundboard that anyone should have, are just the little version. Damn. Yeah, I need to reach out.
Yeah, I'll have. Oh yeah, most definitely. We'll have to get that going. All right. So next little one we got going here on the apartment analysis would be your temperature. You know, got to pay attention to the best spaces in your apartment or your small house that have the most desirable temperatures. Good air circulation, you know, paying attention to where your air conditioning vents are, all kinds of stuff like that, you know, which kind of leads me into the next one, which is humidity. You know, having a humidifier around for different tropical plants when you might be in one of those high desert areas that Ryan was talking about. So just good rule of thumb to like pay attention to all these little things when you're out there buying a plant for your house. You know, thinking about growing something new that you've never tried before, and you know, thinking about all these things.
Yes, because going from 50 to 55% humidity down to 20 to 22 was a shock, obviously.
Yeah, I know all too well. You know, being from down south and then moving up here to Colorado, good old dry Colorado. It was a life change.
I'm so bad at geography, even nearby me. But I thought Colorado was actually, yeah, no, that would make sense. You guys are in the 20s too, huh?
Oh yeah, I mean Midwest, up at a mile high, pretty dry up here at times. I'd say probably sit right at like 25, mid-20s.
And I'm just like recently like my obliviousness to that, living on the coast and then moving around. But that's why these things are so cool, is building this mental catalog of the plants that you've planted in different areas. Because when you do go to an area, and if it's similar or in a medium, you can just transition pretty quickly and hit the ground running, you know?
Absolutely. Yeah, that's one of the cooler things about focusing on having these smaller scale permaculture setups, like, you know, having an indoor garden, is you can grow things like a fruit tree or a citrus tree that can't deal with the frost.
I am currently sitting at 62% humidity where I live. I just checked.
Oh my gosh.
Let's go.
Yeah. I was talking to my pops the other day, and he said it was 85 down in Florida, like 85% humidity.
Yeah, but that
That's
is
on a
like
good day.
coming from like a California kid, and then you go to Florida, and then it's just like you get hit by a brick wall. You're like, oh, yeah, no.
Yeah, that's a fact. That is a fact.
But I just wanted to mention something else. That was and also as these things, chives. I can't remember right now. The main point that I'm trying to get to is the dehydrator technology has gotten a lot better. And I used to have, I've had a couple different dehydrators, but these in-home gardens, in apartment, whatever, you can take any of those. Okay, like onion. You can make your own seasonings and dried herbs I've even cubed them for bouillon cubes. Like you can do all sorts of things for stocks, so and this is just stuff that you grow, and then you can use it, and then you can take peels of onion skins even, dehydrate them, and save them up, and then build your own seasonings. So that's one of my favorite things to do also.
Most definitely. I grew a lot of cayenne pepper this year, and I have them strung up hanging in my window right now, actually drying out to be ground up and turned into ground cayenne pepper. So excited about that.
That's another great point, is stringing them up like that. I did that with different methods of drying. Is something that we could have a space on. So probably, but
Oh, absolutely. I'm very well acquainted with different methods of harvesting and drying, being that I ran a hemp farm for a couple of years, and I'm heavily immersed in that culture. So preserving is a big part of it. Preserving in different ways for different things.
Well, it's the same concept. You go through all that work from building your soil to water management, time management, planting the seed, carrying out, executing the attendance, and your I'm trying to think of the chaperoneship of your plant, and then to just let any of it go to waste is the whole point. The main point that we're trying to do here is eliminating waste altogether and utilizing everything, because everything does truly have a use.
Yeah, it does. That's a preach to that. It's one of the huge things that is preached about in hemp farming specifically, is just how it's so beneficial to everything from the land, to pulling carbon out of the atmosphere and just things like that, and then taking it full circle, being able to grow that and then use it back into something like hemp rope that could then be around for decades to come. So just growing things like that, I find so rewarding, and just having it so many multi-use plants like that are just literal godsends. So
Yeah, absolutely. That goes just to what my model, back to Hippocrates, is let food be thy medicine and medicine be thy food. So um, and that's just for us to teach to others and to open up their eyes to knowledge that we got through our experiences, and other people definitely did not. So, and it's just so exciting to see these spaces happening because it's something I'm very passionate about. And it's very meta because, like, I mean, then that's why, just like Chefo came in, Food Nouns, the growth of Chefo, food for me as a food nounder, Food Nouns is an extension of food is my weapon. And food, and these are universal things to bring us together and to connect, to become the best version of ourselves and help others do the same along the way. And our society is not built necessarily to allow that information to get to the masses. And we've had, with medicine and research and everything, we're just learning so much. But now with spaces like this, we can really put the jetpack on, getting this knowledge out to people, because it's so important, and for mental health also. I mean, gardening and thinking this way is very fulfilling, but empowering, and takes power back from the system and puts it back to you, and gives you some governance and in your life, and it's a beautiful thing.
Hi, it's Nono. I just wanted to say that one thing that's very permaculture that I've done in the past, and is, like, I have a sweet potato mother in my window, and you can cut it off and then plant it in the ground. But you can take any potato with an eye and replant that. And potatoes are great balcony things, especially sweet potatoes, because their vines are all beautiful and edible. And you can replant onions, like a piece of the onion, and grow an onion. You can replant the head of a pineapple and grow a pineapple, or an avocado. You have to be patient, but it's fun with kids and stuff to show that or celery. There's lots of food scraps that can become food again over time in small spaces.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun to see, like, when you throw things into a big giant compost pile, and later on in the season you might see a tomato plant coming out the back thriving, throwing off a bunch of tomatoes. And it's a lot of fun to harvest off those volunteer plants that pop up.
But you can also do it intentionally. Like, if you have the base of your celery,
sure. Absolutely.
if you soak it in water, it'll grow roots, and you can put the celery. So, like, if you're not going to eat that core because it's not nice, you can do that. Or if you have an onion that's starting to go bad, just break it up into pieces and plant it in little pots on your kitchen windowsill. And in about a month, you have, green onions. And then in a couple months, you have onions to use. So, in the not wasting anything, if you don't have room for a compost pile, sometimes you can take some scraps and just, if you have just little pots, start growing from the scraps.
Absolutely. Yep, that's a really great technique. I'd love to utilize things like that, especially with the one you're saying with the pineapples. Starting it from the top of another pineapple is just that much of a head start on a process that takes 18 months roughly. So things like that are very beneficial to getting a head start.
Also, green onions and chives. Green onions are great for restoring from grocery store stuff.
Yeah, they are. I did quite a few of those this year.
I think microgreens are also something that we'll probably see people growing more at home in the future.
Oh yeah, I've done my fair share of growing microgreens. Those are a lot of fun. Really, really rewarding for a novice grower as well. It's super easy, low cost setup. You can do it over Home Depot, or you can do it under a Home Depot light that, you know, may cost $30, fluorescent, you know, and that's ideal. So just having things like that, you know, that you're planting and then a week later harvesting and reaping the benefits of and throwing in a salad and enjoying, it's very engaging, and it's very rewarding, and it's motivating to branch into bigger projects and do more and learn more about you know, growing techniques and indoor growing and things like that.
Yeah, microgreens have been one of the things that I've been blessed to forage up here, and I'm gonna miss a lot. Sustainably, of course, along with ramps and mustard and dandelion greens. So could literally, I did do one YouTube video like a couple years ago, and it's private and stuff. But like, it'd be cool to edit that up because I mean, and find just the ramps up here. I mean, you get these things are delicacies. You know, I mean, you go into the store and look up to try to buy something random like mustard. It's not expensive, but it's not cheap. And like learning to just sustainably forage, you know, in like you know, even if you do live in, yeah, see, that's the thing. Yeah, there's always something somewhere where you can safely forage. I'd like to say so, but yeah, microgreens are something that are very cool. I'm looking forward to getting into hydroponics and dude, like that's in the near future. Once I keep working for that, so I'll be picking your brains about that soon.
Yeah,
Have you engaged at all with aeroponics?
Only just in research. So, but these are the things that have been beyond my capacity. I've moved a lot in my life, you know. So, someday soon I will be in that position. But I'd love to hear about aeroponics and tell people about that now. Also,
Yeah. Aeroponics are pretty nifty. They're essentially it's kind of like hydroponics, except you just use like water sprayers, and instead of them being the roots kind of being directly in flowing water, instead they're kind of exposed in this high moisture misting environment. It reduces the water consumption by like a factor or so. So
I've used aero cloners, but I've never ran a plant full cycle in a setup like that. That'd be interesting to try. Do you run into a lot of like pythium problems and things like that?
I'm not quite sure what a pythium problem is, but
It's like root rot, like.
oh yeah, I'm not quite sure about that. What I saw, or the project that I saw, was pretty nice. The roots seem to be very very fluffy, and seem to have the kind of the pattern of just creating very very fluffy roots with a lot more of the feeders rather than anything else. So that was pretty funky. Yeah.
That is very interesting. I'll have to do a little bit more research into that. I'm interested to see like what the root mass looks like compared to like a deep water culture setup or something like that, when you're getting a solid root mass basically.
yeah, it sounds really cool. Just like more surface area for any, just like evolution. Yeah, I would. I'm fascinating.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was kind of feeling is like, oh, it's just a kind of a better platform for mineralization to be, put onto these things. So yeah, pretty cool.
Yes, very very cool. Speaking of cool, it would be real cool if everybody went ahead and retweeted the space, because we're going to be giving away a pack of seeds to get your garden started next year. So grab and retweet that space, everybody. We're going to be giving that away here soon. Last call.
And we just missed the Poe app window, so I have to go and edit it really quick. But we will have the Poe app in just a moment.
Yes, we have a really awesome poem today from one of our fellow Nouner or Nounish artists, Kimmy Duck. So excited about that. It's gonna be a cool one today. You want to stick around to get that. All right. One thing I wanted to talk about today was worm bins. The use of worm composting for small apartment style setups. You ever done anything like that? Change the game?
Actually, I sure haven't, but it's been one of those things that I've been really interested in engaging with for sure. Um, like indoor, like literally indoor worm farms, or just like worm farms in general.
I'd say in general as well. But they make these little setups that are geared towards having small indoor style. Something that might sit on the balcony or right inside a sliding glass door or something like that. So it's definitely an interesting concept. I'd say more towards balcony from the research I've done, because I personally have never done that myself as well. So that's one of the reasons I wanted to talk about it.
All right. We do have a POAP ready. For those of you who don't know, a POAP is a proof of attendance protocol. It is a NFT scrapbook, the memories of your life. And here on the Noun Square and Food Noun O'Clock, and we like to give out POAPs as a token of appreciation for joining us and being here with us. So go to poap.xyz and get the app for next time. And click the secret word, and the secret word is Magic Bloom. All one word, lowercase, Magic Bloom. So thank you very much for joining us today.
Thank you.
I can see it already, and it is beautiful. A nice little home permaculture getup. Looks like a little tiny house. Very cool. It's even got a little root cellar at the bottom. Ah!
Yes, very excited about this one.
So yeah, about worms though. I have heard that they can be very like low smell and low effort. Especially considering, they kind of like a dark, damp environment anyways. So yeah, it's kind of like anything else that's kind of organically managed. You just have to be careful and conscious about what you feed it and how you feed it and how you protect it. And it should be, bearable. Should have an earthy smell, not a bad smell.
Yeah, exactly. If you're overfeeding your worms, then you will have a bad smell. So like that's one of the main things is you don't want to overfeed them or the bin will smell bad, because worm compost doesn't smell. There's something wrong when there's a food rotting smell. That means that you're putting too much, that you either need to up your setup if you have the desire to compost to your worm, feed your worms as much as you have been, and it's not going so well. So just things like that. You don't want to let food spoil, or your worms aren't going to want to eat it because it's too acidic for them. So just things like that. You're raising worms. It's like your little pets, and you're harvesting their castings for fertilizer. And so if you're able to do this efficiently, then that's a quicker way. It's just a different type of composting.
Yeah,
had
another
a
thing we can do for them is to chop up their food a little bit. But go ahead, bud.
Oh no, absolutely. Sorry, I was just going to say I've had a bunch of different. I had a giant section I'm staring at right now, like 10 by 10, dedicated to different compost bins and experiments. And I had several worm populations, in one of them I just did everything wrong. And sure enough, they came out mighty and strong and ready to take on the apocalypse. So, but yeah, no, the smell of that good is one of my favorite smells of all time is soil. That's like good soil. It is intoxicating. It just is one of my weird things where it's just like, oh my god, love soil so much.
Yeah, it's it's that grounding smell that's just like brings you, it really grounds you to earth. And
Especially when you know everything that you put in it, and you're just looking at. I mean, yeah, it's so cool.
yeah, that's what one of the thing I want to kind of close out the space on today is building living soil, and like how important that is in this specific apartment permaculture setup is building soil to last years, so that you're feeding your soil and you're feeding your worms and things like that, instead of having all these inputs and trying to fertilize your plants and yada yada. And it's a whole lot more rewarding to grow organic and build soil than mix up nutrients. And it's a whole lot easier to just feed water, when you
Yeah, and make tea.
and teas, and maybe just throw a little bit of molasses or stuff like that into your water when you're feeding, other than measuring out and seeing all this nasty stuff going into your food that later on you're wanting to eat.
Yeah, so an interesting thing that I think about when you say, right, like the fertilizers and this, that, and another, and how healthy the food is like it's just like incredible how it was the food smell or the soil smell. So I was thinking about the soil smell, and it's like, oh, they say that the thing that helps mental health so much with soil is that it's actually full of B12, I think maybe, and it's like very hard to get naturally occurring B12, but it just exists naturally in soil in like huge amounts. So our attraction to things, especially things that have nature or natural resource, is intentional. It's natural. It's like your body desiring this thing that it hasn't been getting. Especially if you're in a city circumstance, it's like, oh yes, I need some B12 in my life.
Oh, that's a real thing. It's like I need to go take my shoes off and walk on grass. It's like I literally need to like have this electron exchange between my feet and the earth to like it's healing in a way that like people don't always quite understand, but it's undeniable.
And the science is getting closer and closer to explaining precisely why grounding is so incredible for the human body, which
yeah,
is very cool to see in and of itself too.
100%. It's just something that it's important to talk about and tell people about, because a lot of the times it's not so common knowledge when you might think it would be.
Mm.
I know. All right. Well, I think we're gonna wrap up here soon, guys. If no one else has anything else to chat about, I think it was a great show today.
Hell yeah.
Kind of talking about everything to do with apartment permaculture. What a small scale setup might look like. Some of the things you might pay attention to going into building something like that, and yeah, I had a lot of fun. Anything else, anybody? Kind of play us out here with the rest of our song. Sweet. All right, everybody. Thanks for coming, joining us on Fluid 9 o'clock Soapbox, Bloomz in Season. See everybody next week. All right. Thanks a lot. Play us out here with the song.
Come with sweet melodies, that is your mind.
Thanks a lot for coming, everybody. Come join us next week. We'll continue this conversation. Talk about growing, eating healthy food, growing your own food, building your own garden.
When I first picked up the mic, I was 3 and on my brother's side. Didn't know what I was singing, but the vibe was always right.